Terraria is a game full of unique weapons, but today I'm adding a new twist. I can only use red weapons. From the blood butcherer to the vampire knives, every weapon I wield must be bathed in red, like the color of my victims after I'm done with them. Are there enough viable red weapons? Can I beat the game under these specifications? And what unique weapons will I come across and be forced to use on my journey? Well, I sure as heck can't use the copper short sword, as it is orange, which means I can't hit a single enemy as of right now. I head west, don't end up finding much, so I head down into a cave near spawn, and then accidentally step on a pressure plate that I didn't see and blow up. And that yellow slime just stole all the money that I got from a money portal, and I have no way of retrieving it. I just keep throwing myself into the cave, hoping to get anywhere in this run. Made a bit of armor, and then while I was committing deforestation, a golden bird came out of a tree, and I had to save it. Without my help, who knows where it will end up. I built a wall to capture it, it bounced off it and started going the other way. I then had to build another wall to make it bounce the other way, and then a wall closer in so that it just keep bouncing. Eventually I managed to capture it inside this wooden cage, and I've officially saved this poor creature. Now I need to build a house to get the merchant so that I can get a bug net to capture it. I mean, give it a new home. The merchant moved in, I bought a bug net, and the poor bird found a new home in my inventory. I'll find a permanent home for it soon, but for now it's gonna sit in my sweaty pocket as I mine in 40 degrees Celsius heat. And eventually through my elevator, I ended up finding some crimtane. Now, obviously I went with crimson for this world. The corruption would literally give me nothing. I started finding some life crystals and some golden chests, and after using a random TP potion, I find some more crimtane, allowing me to get either the tendon bow or the blood butcherer. I decided to go for the blood butcherer, which was annoying. It got one of the worst modifiers I could have gotten. Very unfortunate, but at least I can do some damage. I then used a random TP potion, landed deep in the underground jungle, and then died to a man-eater and dropped 26 gold. Now, there's no way I could get that money back, right? I mean, that random TP potion was in the middle of nowhere. Oh, what's that? I had 2 random TP potions left, and one of them took me straight to the underground jungle, not too far away from where I dropped that gold. Well, I guess I gotta go back for the gold then. After a game of digging and evading session, I finally make my way back to my 26 gold pieces. I then went and smashed a crimson heart and got the Undertaker. Now, I would consider this weapon red. I don't know why I didn't go for this weapon earlier. I could have got it really early on. And I then went into the underground desert. A lot of people don't really go into this biome, but there's a few things that I would like. I get an ancient chisel, which is always helpful. But after my death to a giant antlion charger, the goblin army invades. Now, this was pretty bad. I'm gonna be real. I didn't have great weaponry for this. The Undertaker was mostly my weapon of choice. The blood butcher was also helpful, but after the brutal death of many of my NPCs, they were vanquished from my world. I found Knogs with his stupid head. You know, when I was a kid, and I still kind of see it, I always thought he was wearing a helmet because of that little dot in his head. I guess it's like a mole. I don't know why I always saw a helmet. Anyway, I reforged my blood butcherer twice and got legendary. And also now I have a tendon bow, which is also red. It's crimson themed. Obviously, a lot of the weapons being red is kind of subjective. Sorry if it doesn't hold up to your expectations, but let me know down in the comments. Give me some interaction. I don't know. But as I go home, a monstrous eye decides to look at me menacingly. So I drink my potions and start to mutilate this eyeball. I'm kind of going between the Undertaker and the tendon bow, although I just stick with the Undertaker because the damage just seems to be higher. I'm utilizing my featherfall potion as I normally do. They're basically early game wings. They're really helpful. If you're not using the featherfall potion early game, especially for the Eye of Cthulhu, maybe give it a try. It trivializes this boss. It gets down to its final phase. It's a bit hard to hit it now, but it's getting pretty low. I'm not losing much health. Things are looking completely fine. And I finish him off with the Undertaker. Now, that gold bird that I had in my inventory before is now permanently situated in my house. So it's now sitting snug in the top level, looking outside at the trees and his bird friends as they fly by, longing for the outdoors, but not quite there. Quite a beautiful life. I then started digging down to find the shimmer, which I don't know why some people struggle with this. It was super easy. I just started digging down and found it instantly. I then headed to the underground crimson, clearing out an arena for the brain of Cthulhu. Now here I'm using the tendon bow with jester arrows, which pierce all the creepers, doing big damage. They're getting cleared out. I'm taking not much damage here. It's looking completely fine. Also, I am using the shield of Cthulhu. It is kind of a red weapon. It's mostly white, but I'd call it red because it has red accents. And then after all the creepers are dead, the Brain of Cthulhu gets down to its final phase, which I honestly was expecting to flip me upside down since I've played so much For the Worthy Legendary mode. But honestly, especially with this fight, Master Mode has just become a breeze. Like, I'm so used to the super difficulty of being flipped upside down with Legendary mode, and also if you get hit by any of the brains, taking massive contact damage. But here, I'm just chilling, man. I just identify which one's the clone. I get hit like a couple times, but it does nowhere near as much damage as I'm used to. And the Brain of Cthulhu is defeated, which opens up a lot for us. I'm able to make the Deathbringer pickaxe, which is a red pickaxe, so if I wanted to, I could use it as a weapon. It wouldn't be the first time I've used a pickaxe as a weapon intentionally. I finally made it to hell, found an obsidian skin potion, dived into the lava, mining up a whole wackadoodle of hellstone, and then making molten armor. Now, you might be thinking I can use molten weapons, as they have like red color scheme, but ultimately, they're just orange. They're not red. If I was doing an orange weapons only playthrough, I would use the volcano and the molten fury. Instead, I'll have to look elsewhere for new weapons, such as the crimson rod, which I got from a heart, which can do some passive damage. But a meteorite landed in my world, so I went and dug up a bunch of it and was able to combine the meteorite and some rubies to make a red phase blade. It's red in the name. Like, this is obviously red. I shimmer forged it for like 10 minutes until I got legendary, set up a big arena for Skeletron, and activated the old man's curse. I also made a meatball flail. It's not that good. Flails are just kind of wonky. I don't know. I was using my bow at a range, but I was mostly using the red phase blade on the hands. It actually does decent damage. The problem usually is that you'll just use the volcano over it since it's just kind of better, but I can't use it here. And all things considered, it's not too bad. In a normal playthrough, I wouldn't recommend it, but here it's serving out some decent damage. Now, I'm taking like 2 damage to the hands. It really doesn't do much. And once one of the hands are destroyed, I realized that there are no dark casters, so it's not too bad. There's just the skulls that come in. So my main course of action here is to use the bow until it's spinning, and then use the backswing of my phase blade, which is not as easy as the volcano, simply because the volcano has more reach. The phase blade, I have to get closer, which means if I move just at the wrong speed, I'll get hit by Skeletron's head for about 70 contact damage. So it's taking a bit of time. I then remembered that my comments flame me for not putting down torches in my arena, and it's too dark. So I started placing down some torches, and now my arena is a bit more bright. So I hope you're happy now. It's just more of the same, using the tendon bow until I can use the phase blade. Phase saber is later. And Skeletron has been defeated. And now I can go straight into the dungeon. Is there much in here that I want, if anything? No, not really, if I'm being honest. I then remembered that I skipped a boss, so I went to the underground jungle and spawned in the queen bee. But before we do that, a quick word from today's video sponsor, Filmora. If you're anything like me, you put tons of time into making detailed videos. But how do you reach a bigger audience without doubling your workload? Enter Filmora's Smart Short Clips. This AI-powered tool transforms long-form videos into short, engaging clips for YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, or TikTok. Now, I know AI gets a bad rep, but this is the good type of AI that saves you a bunch of time. And at the end of the day, it's still your original content. Here's how it works. Filmora analyzes your video and automatically picks out the best moments. There is no longer a need to scroll through hours of footage. It also adds background music and sound effects that fit the style of your clip. Whether it's a funny moment, chill tutorial, or a boss fight. It converts the video from horizontal to vertical and vice versa, adds eye-catching subtitles, and makes your content scroll stopping. Personally, I'm planning on using Smart Short Clips to create some shorts of funny moments during my live streams, and it will save me so much time while boosting my reach. Try Filmora V14 today and see the difference in your content yourself. Links in the description. Thank you to Filmora for sponsoring, and let's get back to the video. Now, will this give me anything? She drops yellow weapons, so I highly doubt it. I use my Shield of Cthulhu bash to not get hit by her dashes, which is pretty consistent, at least in her early phases, and I'm just chipping her down. When she's standing still spawning her bees, I hit her with the phase blade. At one point, she just stands there for a while. I get some big damage in, and in no time, the queen bee is defeated. It really wasn't that hard. And yeah, I was right. It didn't get me anything, except for flasks. I then spawned in the king slime, who is a pitiful little man in this seed. Where's your big brother? You're more like the prince slime. Where's the real king slime? Bro's tiny. I just swing my meatballs around. I kind of just tank some hits, and then the king slime has been defeated. I did get a shadow key from the dungeon, and the first chest I open, I get the CJ DEATHBOT plushie. Freaking sick. dude. That's like me. He's like me. He's a little me. So now there's only one thing really left for me to do. Build a non-funnel, just a bridge. I don't do funnels anymore. I retired from funnels a long time ago. I don't really know how big the bridge has to be, but I make it decently big. And you might be wondering what weapon I'm going to use against the wall of flesh. The choices I have are very limited, and this is basically the only options I had. Apart from this, I could use like the artery yo-yo and the cascade yo-yo, combat wrench, maybe the blood rainbow, vampire frog staff, maybe. I could use blood water and lava bombs and the lawnmower, but the weapon I chose to mainly use here is actually dynamite. It's classified as a weapon on the wiki, and it is red, and it starts doing work against the wall. Now, I knew this was actually a decent strategy against the wall because you can get it very easily pre-boss as long as you have a lot of money, and it just shreds the wall of flesh. The main problem is that it destroys my bridge. So I only have one attempt at this, or else I have to build a whole nother bridge. Also, the wall speeds up as the fight goes along on expert mode and above, which makes it harder to hit him because his acceleration changes, which means I can't reliably throw it at the same consistency, which means I do end up missing a lot of my dynamites, and I've run out of dynamite now, and I have to switch to my tendon bow, but it's really low here, so it should be no problem. I'm using hellfire arrows, but I'm losing a lot of health to these lasers, and the damage is not that great because I'm using melee armor. It's getting super low here, but I Shield of Cthulhu bash into a leech, which knocks me into the wall of flesh, killing me instantly. This is why I don't use the Shield of Cthulhu, ladies and gentlemen. Backstabbing piece of crap. It only had 200 health left, so I fix up my bridge, buy some more dynamite, and spawn him in again. Starts off with good damage. I'm hitting him pretty consistently with this dynamite, laying it on the bridge. It can do big damage because the explosion can hit both the eye and the mouth. But once he gets to around 3,000 health, I start missing my dynamite. I'm throwing him too late, but I get multiple in a row consecutive, and now it's down to 200 health, but it's sped up a ton at this point, so I just have to switch to my bow. I end up inside the wall. It drags me along. I've lost a lot of health here, but I finish it off with the tendon bow. And now we have entered hard mode. And while I'm smashing some crimson altars, I want to ask you guys to subscribe. We're trying to hit 200,000 subscribers, and I can only do it with your guys' help. Look at how many of you aren't subscribed and are watching this. I know it's you, Zach. You're watching this not subscribed. What's up with that, Jacob? If you don't subscribe right now, I'll find my way into your house, Mark. I make my way through some palladium, and also I find my way to the underground hallowed, getting myself some crystal shards. I then mine some mithril to make a mithril anvil, and now with the red phase blade and 25 crystal shards, I can make the red phase saber. The fact that you can get this very early in hard mode is very nice, and it's actually quite decent. I then mine up some adamantite, which is a very valuable ore considering that it is red, which means that I can get an adamantite repeater, and I also make an adamantite glaive, which is a spear. These are as red as red gets. Next on my agenda was to farm some mimics for money and mimic drops, which brought me to a blood moon, which just gave me more mimics to farm, and I finally got a cross necklace. I'm not even capping, one of the best accessories in this game. So much better than the obsidian shield. And then I very painstakingly farmed some ice golems. This was quite annoying. The weapons I had just couldn't cheese it very easily, and fighting an ice golem head on is honestly like impossible. And funnily enough, because it was a blizzard at midnight, I was actually forced into fighting deer clops. I was in a very bad location for it, but luckily he, I don't know. People have told me it's a she, people have told me it's a he. It seems like the community is divided on it. It only does like 1 damage to me, so it was not a problem. A little off progression, but I did beat it before beating Moonlord. That was all for some frost cores to make some frost armor, which will allow me to kind of mix and match between my melee weapons and my range. And after farming a bunch of pixies, made the testosterone wings. Honestly, it's been a while since I made these. I've missed how manly it makes me feel. Now, this is a CJ DEATHBOT exclusive. I actually did something I've never done before. I made a mob farm. I don't even know what came over me. I've never done this before. It took a bit. I had to get the dimensions right. Now, there's a couple things I wanted this for. I wanted to farm some souls at night because I want to farm some crimson mimics for potential weapons that it drops. And also, I might just stumble across the crimson key, which would be really helpful. But, you know, that's wishful thinking. I mean, it probably won't drop, and I won't be able to use that weapon. What do you mean I already got it? What do you mean I got it from a skeleton archer right as I started my mob farm? Well, that's one of the things I wanted to get. Was it even worth finishing off this mob farm? I mean, maybe. I might need a lot of souls. The Crimson Mimic might drop stuff that I just don't want. But I actually activated a Crimson Mimic with some dart traps, meaning I could get one for free, but I have to fight it here, which is not as much of a controlled environment as my home, but I'll give it a shot. It saves me 15 souls if I can beat it. It hits me for like 200 damage, which is very scary, but I keep hitting it with my adamantite repeater, and finally it dies, and it actually dropped the dart pistol. That is what I was farming souls of night for, and I didn't even need any souls of night in the end. Can I really complain? No, I've been super lucky. It's just kind of funny. I also got the Format C yo-yo and a yo-yo glove from the skeleton merchant. It is clearly red, but I actually ended up not even using it. But yes, the dart pistol, quite the weapon. One night while I'm at the beach, it turns to a blood moon. So I decided to go fishing. There's actually two potential red weapons I can get from this. One dropping from the blood eel and one dropping from the hemo goblin shark. I pull up a blood eel, which is really not hard to defeat, especially with my dart pistol, but it drops nothing. Oh, there's also the sanguini staff I can get, but I have to beat Dread Nautilus. I give it a try, and Dread Nautilus just kind of pantses me, and I can't really do a summoner build anyway because there aren't any red whips. The firecracker is orange. I kill another blood eel, nothing, and that's the whole blood moon. So I spawn in another one with a bloody tear, and I pull nothing this blood moon. I could go on and on about what the hell happened here, but I kept pulling up all the enemies, and they were dropping nothing that I wanted. I pulled up so many blood eels and got nothing out of it. I kept trying at Dread Nautilus. Obviously, the sanguini stuff is not going to make that much of a difference, but it's a bit of extra damage, and I kind of just wanted to beat it. It was really tough. I got down to 15 health at one point, and I dodged an attack, which meant I would have died there normally. I tell you what, this boss fight is so annoying, but I did beat Dread Nautilus, giving me the sanguini staff, and I keep trying at it, killing hemo goblin sharks and blood eels again and again and again, but just not getting it. It's a 12.5% drop chance. Some people wonder why people don't use the Drippler Crippler more. This is exactly why. It's just too much of a hassle to get. At this point, I had sunken so much time in attempting to get the Drippler Crippler that I was just sick of it. And also, I didn't really have a say in the matter, but the twins spawned. Now here, my weapon of choice is the dart pistol, doing some good damage to these guys with quite a bit of leniency as well. I don't have to be super accurate to deal damage, but if I am accurate with my shots, I do deal out that big damage. The funny thing is, it's a ranged weapon, but with the Ichor darts, it actually rewards getting in a bit closer. Spasmatism gets down to second phase, spewing his flames at me. Shield of Cthulhu is helping quite a lot. I'd honestly say that Shield of Cthulhu is at its most helpful in this boss fight in particular. And yeah, dart pistol, really good weapon, kind of annoying to get, having to kill Crimson Mimics for it, but it puts in work. Red Nazer gets down into second phase. I do a big amount of damage as it gets into second phase, and I'm just chipping him down. Things are going so fine right now, and down go the twins. And then on the same night spawned in a blood moon and no Drippler Crippler. At my artificial corruption biome, which I created to get wrath potions, I spawned in the Eater of Worlds, granting me the worm scarf. And the great thing about artificial corruption is occasionally a world feeder spawns, giving me cursed flames. So I was able to make cursed flames darts and spawn in the destroyer. The great thing about cursed flame darts is I can just shoot it horizontally and upwards, and it drips down cursed flames onto the enemies below. And for the destroyer, which is a worm boss covering a lot of ground, this means that the cursed flames are often hitting it, which yields big damage numbers. Not the most impressive destroyer I've ever seen, but not too bad, not too shabby. The probes and the lasers are really the main issue here, but they do drop hearts for me, which is very nice. Also, I didn't mention, I didn't buff up for this fight. I didn't need to. I used to come so over-prepared for master mode fights, but these days, I don't really need to, especially on a more chill challenge run like this, where I get to use some actually decent, if not good, weapons. Now with the twins and the destroyer destroyed, it leaves me with only one menace in my way, Skeletron Prime. I start off by using my dart pistol, then I switch to my adamantite repeater, which I'm using holy arrows with it. My idea was that I use the Ichor to lower the defense of Skeletron Prime, and then I can do some damage with the adamantite repeater. Unfortunately though, the adamantite repeater just kind of underperforms, and the dart pistol just does a better job. It hits the limbs and the head for good damage. When Prime is spinning at me, that's when I can do some massive damage. Does that mean dead yet? Or are people gonna keep commenting about it in my comment section. Who said massive, guys? Ninja low taper fade, guys. That's a ninja reference. Now, Prime's laser hand is super low. I get caught in his spinning skull, and this is a great demonstration of how the cross necklace is a perfect Skeletron Prime counter. Yes, the obsidian shield does the same thing, but you might get hit twice, whereas the cross necklace gives you so many immunity frames, you get hit once and that's it. And it's so much more helpful outside of that attack as well. Laser hand is now down. The other hands have too much health to even go for. The head is really low here, so I'm just gonna go straight for the head and say goodbye to Prime and hello to a restless jungle. Not too much to say here. I was going for chlorophyte ore, life fruits, and turtle shells, and I won't bore you with the details since this is always kind of a boring and lengthy section of the playthrough. But after I've fully maxed out my health, a solar eclipse spawns, and I kind of just have to ride this out. But I do get Neptune's shell, a moonstone, and a broken batwing. And of course, right after that, I get butterfly dust. I make a little tiny arena for Plantera, and I started on an Osagoth tunnel, everyone's favorite. Honestly, a great strategy for Plantera. It's not going too bad. As always, a small arena works just fine for first phase. You really don't need anything big. Like, honestly, I'd say big is overrated, you know? Sometimes good things come in small packages. Sometimes the smaller, the better. I think most people make their arenas too big. But the dart pistol is absolutely shredding Plantera, and Plantera gets into second phase where I drop down into the tunnel, shooting up at her with the dart pistol. I switch over to the adamantite repeater with the holy arrows. It's doing about like 800 per second, but the dart pistol's doing like 800 to 1000. So it is the better weapon here, and there's no way I'm getting in close with my phase saber or anything. But with no issues at all, Plantera has been felled. I open up a treasure bag and I get the flower pow. This, I don't know if I'd consider it red. I honestly don't know what I'd consider it, but I'm not going to use it. With Plantera defeated, I headed straight to the post-Plantera dungeon, granting me a tabby instantly. And with the good old crimson key that I acquired earlier, I open up the crimson chest and loot the vampire knives. A good portion of the weapon sprite is gray, but the red accents and the red projectiles all around give off red. And it's kind of the ultimate crimson weapon, so why not use it? With the lifesteal, it's really good. Obviously, the damage department is not great with it, but I mean, its survivability is basically unmatched. And who cares if you're doing low damage if you can't die? Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. That is why vampire knives are the best biome chest weapon in the game. I then make some master ninja gear, and I killed the wall of flesh so I can switch over my accessories to a melee build. I then used a blood moon to get enough turtle shells for my turtle armor, and with the leftover blood moon time, I fished up some of the blood moon enemies, and I killed a blood eel, and it actually gave me the Drippler Crippler. Now, I wanted to use this weapon ages ago. It's a little bit of a lighter red, but I wouldn't really consider it any other color, and it will actually come in handy. I then looted up the golem's house, headed into his goon cave, and I spawned him in without having to illuminate my background walls. This is so awesome, guys. I don't even have to worry about it being dark. I wanted to see if I could literally stand in him and just leech life off of him with the vampire knives. Unfortunately, I couldn't really do that. So I just dashed around, threw my vampire knives around without for a second thinking that I was gonna die. Golem is easily defeated. But you know, it's the golem. Its loot pool is massive, and I want a sunstone and maybe an eye of the golem. So I just farmed this boss again and again. I literally couldn't die. I just stood there and threw my vampire knives. But unfortunately, from all the lizard power cells I used, I got 2 eye of the golems, but no sunstone. I made some beetle armor, and I spawned in the pumpkin moon. This is the one downside of the vampire knives, is their damage isn't great, which means that events are kind of a struggle. My survivability is decent, but yeah, the damage really is not there at all. Eventually, I do kill a morning wood though, and then a pumpkin spawns, and due to my survivability, I actually end up killing it. But there aren't any red weapons to drop from this. I really only just want one thing, which I do get in the end, the witch's broom. Now, there is a weapon that I can use from the frost moons. I actually use the Drippler Crippler a bit to kill enemies. Weighing it down on the floor and enemies just walking into it and taking damage is actually not too bad of a damage source, but I just have to kill all these ever screams and everything until I can get to a sand tank, which isn't too hard to kill. And after killing a few ever screams, sand tanks, and actually managing to kill the ice queen, and after 3 frost moons and multiple sand tank kills, a sand tank actually dropped the toy tank mount, which I can use this mount. I'd say it's red. And then the next sand tank I killed also dropped the chain gun, which is a mostly red weapon. Its whole body is red. Now, the thing is, the chain gun is highly inaccurate, and if I wanted to use it the most effectively, I'd probably want to use chlorophyte bullets. The problem is I didn't really like the idea of using chlorophyte bullets since they're green, which is not really faithful to a red weapons only playthrough. But what I decided on using was the exploding bullet. It just felt the most red themed. Now with our ranged weapon, I built a surface glowing mushroom biome to get the truffle for the auto hammer. And now I can have Shroomer armor for my chain gun. So now I'm switching my class back to ranger again. So I really want a sniper scope. I went into the dungeon trying to farm snipers, but they just weren't really spawning. I don't know why the dungeon is so inconsistent with spawn rates. It's really annoying. I spent forever in here. Ended up getting a paladin's shield, but then I realized, why don't I just use my mob farm, place down some dungeon bricks, trim some blue slab wall, and then get the dungeon enemies to spawn in, and now I can just farm them. Quickly after I set this up, I got a rifle scope. But while I was shooting those skeletons, I was thinking, these explosive rounds, they're just not red. For the final red ranged weapon I'm gonna use, I really want red bullets, but there just aren't any. But then it came to me. Meteor shots. That is as close to red we are gonna get. They also bounce, which is pretty awesome. So now with our final bullet, a red weapon that shoots red projectiles, the next thing on my sights is to fight the Empress of Light. I have the Witch's Broom, which is my choice of mobility in this fight. It just works flawlessly. I prefer it over wings, to be honest. Since this fight is so rhythmic, I've gotten so used to the Witch's Broom that it's the only thing I want to use. And yeah, the chain gun's not doing too bad. I am missing quite a lot, and the meteor bullets aren't fantastic, I'll be real. The Empress gets down to second phase. I keep shooting her with the chain gun, dealing out some good damage, I guess. It's alright. I do get hit a few times, bringing me down to 40 health, which really made me nervous. I was hoping I wouldn't lose this fight. I do have a limited amount of meteor bullets, let's be real, and I do die, so I have to fight the Empress again, mowing through these bullets. I do have 36,000 bullets, but you know, this thing chews through them. Oh, did I mention as well, I'm not buffed for this fight. I didn't really see a need. The reason I died last time was purely because of my own error. I don't think buffs would have changed it too much. And yeah, not too much different in this fight. I do get hit a couple times. I am looking kind of low. I dropped my honey and I have to get it back. I don't want to lose my honey. And I get a heal off, so I'm looking more healthy now. She does contact hit me, which was pretty rude. But finally, Empress of Light is defeated, granting me only really the soaring insignia. I then spawned in Duke Fishron. I tried to use the toy tank mount on him. It was not working. I was getting thrown around like it was nothing. But yeah, let's try that again. This time I'll actually use my wings and Master Ninja gear and soaring insignia. Now I know I'm ranged, but I can switch to my vampire knives just to heal up a little bit. It's not that effective, but it's something. And surprisingly, the chain gun isn't too bad against Duke. It's doing some good damage, even though I'm not using chlorophyte bullets. Eventually, Duke Fishron gets down to his final phase. Now here I just have to time the dashes, do some simple counting. A first grader could do this. 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And down goes the Duke of the Seas. I didn't get the wings from either of those bosses, so now I'm gonna do the Old One's army. I did go back to explosive rounds for this. It just seemed like the better choice. I was killing the enemies not too difficultly. The flying enemies are super annoying. I really hate Old One's army one player. The toy tank mount is helping though, putting in that extra damage. I get to wave 7, bringing out Betsy. Now I just need to target her and kill her before they destroy the crystal. I'm using my Witch's Broom, shooting my chain gun right at her. I divert my attention to the wyverns that are attacking the crystal. They've got it kind of low now. It's under half health, so I'm pretty nervous as I haven't even got Betsy to half health here. And my damage is not great against her. And then she ends up killing me and it's already over at that point. But I'm persistent, so I try it again. I get up to Betsy. This time I'm using the toy tank just for that extra DPS, hoping it'll be enough. She's getting quite low, but the crystal is really low too. But even if the crystal is destroyed, I do have a window where I can kill her. Luckily, I dodge a hit that would have killed me. And as the crystal is destroyed, Betsy is defeated. I open up my treasure bag, getting a Betsy's Wrath with no wings. Since I've already beat it, I used the ballista staves. Part of it is red, and it's just for the Old One's army. So, you know, I don't think it's too much of a stretch. I got to Betsy and died, so I tried it again. This time, defeating Betsy in time, which gives me an Old One's army tier 3 win. And wouldn't you believe it, I got the Betsy's wings. Now, I also got the flying dragon. This might be the most controversial weapon, but I did actually consider this weapon red. Now, hear me out. I know a good portion of it is yellow, but also some of it is purple and some of it is red. But the main contributing factor of it being red is the projectile. The fact that it shoots a red projectile rounds it off as a red weapon for me. So yes, this one is quite subjective. If you don't consider it red, that's fine, but I considered it red for this challenge. But as you may have guessed, that means we have to switch back to the melee class. So with the flying dragon in hand, the ultimate red weapon, I spawned in the lunatic cultist. The flying dragon is doing quite well. I'd say it holds up against the Terra blade. It's a bit harder to hit, but especially when you're up close, hitting an enemy with the projectile and the blade, it does some big damage. So yeah, really respectable weapon. I didn't even buff for this fight because I really didn't need to. And with the lunatic cultist defeated, the Stardust pillar drops right on me, but I'm not too fond of it, so I head home. Now you might think now I can get the solar weapons as they're red, but they're not red. I'd call them orange, just like the Volcano, the Sun Fury, etc. So spoiler alert, the flying dragon is our final weapon. Stardust, I kind of cheesed with the cells and defeated it very easily. This sword is making light work of these enemies. And solar was also not that hard. I just kept on the ground and shot the flying dragon, and the big advantage that the flying dragon has over the Terra blade is it can actually shoot its projectiles through walls, which meant it was really easy to just hit the solar enemies behind cover. It felt really good to just destroy the solar enemies like this. And then it was the vortex pillar. I just cheesed this. I went in a hole, shot my flying dragon upwards because it goes through walls. It was just super easy. And now impending doom approaches my world. So what I did, I grabbed the gold bird cage at the top of my house, went to the shimmer, threw it in, released the bird from its cage. Before the Moon Lord arrives, I decided to set it free. And boy, did I set it free. By boiling it in a cooking pot, creating a golden delight which I could then eat for my own satisfaction. 48 minutes of exquisitely stuffed. Don't mind if I do, but I have to win this fight in memory of Golden Bird. If I can beat the Moon Lord, his whole life had purpose and meaning, and me eating him will not go to waste. I will make your life mean something, bird. Now with Betsy's wings, I could trade out the Master Ninja gear since I have a hover, and the flying dragon is actually doing insane damage to the Moon Lord. If I can hit the eyes with the blade and the projectile, like I do with the top eye once it's out again, I'm doing over 2,000 damage easily. Now the top eye is over halfway dead. I'm taking not much damage because I have the beetle shell on. I get a heal, I'm looking fine. I start hitting the top eye, dodge the death laser completely. Now all but the left eye are low, so I have to hit the left eye to equal it out. Once the laser comes out, I finish off the top eye, head over to the right eye, start hitting it. It's now out of the socket. I'm literally on like 500 health here. It is completely fine. All the eyes are out of the sockets. I'm now hitting the core with my sword, and it's just textbook from here. I mean, it's a projectile sword. I can keep on the move. With my soaring insignia and Betsy wings, I completely outrun any projectiles and lasers, and I also have so much survivability, I can just go in and do some damage. I fly up to the top of the world, drag him down with me, doing big damage to the core by hitting it with the sword and the projectile. And that answers the question, can you beat Terraria with only red weapons? And that is a yes. It was quite limited, but honestly, the weapons I used along the way were pretty good. I then spawned in the Queen Slime to finish her off and get the relic. And then I spawned in the Martians, killing a Martian saucer with not much issue, giving me the Martian saucer relic. And now I've gotten every single relic in the game. Oh, except the pirate. I do have to fight the pirates. Put down that pirate ship. And now I've gotten every relic in the game. And since some people might complain, oh, the flying dragon, it's not red, you cheated. This is an invalid run. It's all subjective, but just to shut you up, I then went and fought the Moon Lord with the chain gun, with meteor bullets, and that's what's playing in the background now, just to prove that the flying dragon isn't what actually won me the run. I just wanted to use it because it was a cool, powerful weapon that I considered to be red. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like. Let me know if you want any other color weapon playthroughs. If it does well, I might do another one. I can do blue, I can do green, I can do orange, I can do whatever. I'll see you guys in the next video.